Good afternoon, my dear parents out there. I welcome you on our program, Parenting as a Sacred Purpose. Namali Aneger is my name, and I welcome you once again. So today, we want to go deep in sharing about on how we were raised, on how we were nurtured, but on how we were trained. I want us to remember, if anyway you can, the way we were disciplined. They would begin with abuses, then canes, then negativity at the end. What do I mean? They begin by abusing you, painful words. Then as they're abusing you, lie down, you're caned. When they're done with caning, now these ones come later. I've wasted my man on you. You're naturally stupid. Naturally, you don't learn. So that is what they call negativity. When you don't see anything positive and you say it continuously, it becomes having that negative mind about someone. So we want to see, how did they affect us? I want to share with you this, that kind of discipline, that kind of disciplining comes with long-term effects. It affects a person, how they think and how they act. So it affects the senses of a person, but also it affects the worthiness of a person. So when I remember we were young, whenever they would ask you why you did something, the moment you would give a reason, there and then you're told how stupid you are. You see how you're reasoning? And you're caned. That kind of disciplining cannot allow someone to grow in thinking or critical thinking or reflecting or reasoning. So you get to know that, oh, my answers are stupid. So you don't want even to speak, because once you speak, you're going even to annoy more your parent. So you end up keeping quiet. And before you realize that you destroy your confidence. Your confidence slowly keeps on reducing. So that kind of raising us has affected us in very many ways. We have many people who are struggling with searching for jobs. Jobs, yes, are not there. They are not really many. But you can create something. But because we had an effect with us growing in reasoning or critical thinking, from the time we are home to schools, because at school we believe that only teachers had the right answers. So you come from home when you're fearing to just speak to elders, or to answer back to elders, or to reason with elders. So you grow with it up to school. So when you reach in the university is when they are trying to teach you how to reason things. But even you see with how our academic curriculum were those days, still they wanted answers that exactly are needed, given according to the teacher. So at the universities, when you're starting to realize that you have to reason, you need to think. But remember, these are only 3 or 4 years. So you're not yet good. But because from the beginning, when you were young, when you're supposed to learn things, when you're supposed to know life skills, is when ours would be destroyed most, when we are young. Today we are seeing people being failures in relationships. It all began when we are young. You cannot speak to someone, you cannot open up to your parents. You just learn how to cope up with the situation. So you start learning how to hold things within yourself. I mean, these are your parents. You expect to talk to them freely, to be so loving, but you see you see it's the opposite. So living that life, it affects you. You don't trust people. You don't trust people, and you don't care when you feel people don't understand you. You say that is me. But all that began right from the time you were young. Look at people believing in negativity. People today, the way they advise is just to discourage you. And when you tell someone, but your advice is just discouraging advice, they tell you, I'm preparing you. I'm preparing you that in case something bad happens. But if I want to go ahead and you tell me, you know what, I don't think you're going to manage. I think that thing is very hard. Are you sure that that will give me energy to go unless I'm a diehard? So slowly, those small things that parents used to think they were small, they have affected us up to our old age. People being hyper. I've seen it. I'm a teacher. I've been teaching. I've experienced it. Parents, the way they react, you others want, actually, if possible, they want to fight. But I came to realize most of them, those who are like that, if you go deep in their lives, they were stressed, depressed when they were little, when they were young. So they had held hunger within themselves for a very long time. So now that they are big, anything small, it sparks off from the other inner wound. So those inner wounds that we have kept all the time covering, once something small that connects to the other wound taps the wound like this, someone loses it. So that's why you see that today they are saying there is people lack emotional intelligence. But all that originates from the effects they had when they were young. So I want us to know that when a person gets, when a young person, a young child is overwhelmed with situations, they create what they call the surviving mode. The brain cannot figure it out. They cannot get answers. They cannot speak to someone. So they start looking for ways to survive within that area. It's no wonder that those days children who used to celebrate, by the way, to be in boarding schools, and they would find a lot of joy being away from home. In fact, I used to see children when it is Chiromo, time for going back home. You'd see some children who will sleep like they don't want to see the next day come to pass, because they were seeing already the torture at home. So just know that any disturbed young child is going to be a more disturbed adult. Today we have people struggling a lot physically in their health, but mostly the effects originate from their childhood. Headaches, fatigues, people they overthink, they try to connect so many things. But remember, they were not trained how to deal with emotions. We were not trained on how to deal with relationships. Because where we expected most to get love, we got the opposite. The life skills that we are supposed to be trained when we were young gave us a lot of beating and abuses. In the end, we did not learn them. We just crammed them. And cramming, by there, is a short term. After some time, you abandon it. As long as now you're out of that stage, you leave it there. You see that? So this kind of raising children kills reasoning. That's why people today are struggling. That's why even if they give someone 1 million and they say start something, someone says I cannot manage. They have already given up within themselves because they grew when they are telling them you cannot manage, you cannot think by yourself. You see that? It has killed what they call self-discovery. I have my friend recently who told me that for the course that I did, I have realized I did a wrong course. I'm not finding anything in it. So that's when such a person is given a job. When they say, can you create something new? They cannot. They did things, but their minds weren't into that. No, their brains weren't into that. They don't know even what they are good at. Because everything you do try to discover would end up bringing gains for you. Everything you do try to learn, they say you're not good at it, you're wasting. So we were restrained from discovering ourselves, what I'm good at. I think I love this. Most of us don't know ourselves actually. And that's why we have many people who say, Amma, what do you think? What do you think that I am? They want to hear from other people because they really don't know themselves. One big person told me, is it possible that you can know yourself? I said, you can know. You may not know totally 100%, but there are things you can really know that this and this. And they told me that maybe it's only by the grace of God. But it is possible for you to discover yourself, to know what you're good at. And for you to know that you're good at something, that's what helps you that even when you don't find a job, you start now looking at your positive energy, the things you think you can do, and survive there. So all that was killed. We lost confidence. People struggle. They struggle to express themselves. We have a challenge of communication today. And in big people, not only in children, in big people, when he's trying to say A, the person says B. Because expressing yourself was like an abomination. How can a child open his or her mouth to talk? You see that? So I want to tell you that that kind of raising caused a lot in our lives. And that's why you see that people can afford to walk away, leave relationships, leave children, or pay more attention to themselves, have fun, and just look at the children. Because for them in themselves, they think that is normal. When you're big, it's time to enjoy yourself. So I ask you kindly, let us look or embrace change. But that change will not come unless you first look at yourself and see how you have been affected. If you realize that they say God helps those who help themselves. The moment you start realizing that this thing is not good for me, that's when God will come in. And that's when you will start having the courage and the strength to say, how do I change this so that it does not affect my child too? It is not an easy path, but if you look at it deeply, you will appreciate. Otherwise, we ourselves are struggling as parents to figure out how to do parenting. That, like what they tell us, you cannot give what you do not have. First, figure out what challenges you have gone through or you have had in your life. Those challenges will be the ones to open the door for you to change and stand there for your child. God bless you.